Okay, so here we are. Welcome to, falling off my chair. Welcome to Doc's Man Therapy, I guess you would call this. Been trying to figure out what name I would give these small shows. I was thinking of mental health checks, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with Man Therapy for now. So, if you're a listener of this show, a long-time listener, you would understand the way my mind works a little bit. So, I'm pretty susceptible to ups and downs. I've been a pretty happy-go-lucky guy for most of my life. Probably the last 4 or 5 years that hasn't been the case. I've been quite anxious from time to time. Probably had depression a few times. I've never been told I've had depression, even though I've seen a psychologist many times. I've never been actually diagnosed with depression. But the reason, I guess, for this show is I'm just really sick of what people are going through in today's society, and particularly young men. There's 4 out of my 5 best mates. I have more than 5 mates, actually. Believe it or not, I've probably got 7 or 8 mates. No, but I've got 5 best mates and me. And 4 out of the 5 of them have been on suicide watch. Well, one of them's suicidal now. One of them tried to kill himself last year. One of them was suicidal about 18 months ago. And around that same time, another one wasn't suicidal, but was not doing great, and we kind of had discussed, just really looking out for him. And then I got another mate who's just cruising. So it's just, it's just a bit shit. So I'm just trying to, if you're a listener that likes our engaging shows with guests and banter and talking about the universe and talking about sport and talking about, comedy or corrupt cops, child soldiers, all that interesting stuff that we have with our guests, then this show might not be for you. But if you're interested in hearing, if you're interested in a look behind the curtain into my brain, then here we go. So I want to first start off by giving myself a rate of perceived wellness. So RPW, we'll call it, rate of perceived wellness. So out of 10, how happy would you say? How much wellness would I have in my life? And I would say that, before yesterday, I was thinking about recording 2 days ago, I was going to say 6. I'm probably going to say a 4. And I'm not talking today, I'm talking like, let's say the last 2 months. No, can't be a 4 the last 2 months. I'm a 4 probably today. The last 2 months I've probably been a 6. And the last week I've probably been a 4. So 7's that fence sitting number. So 7's basically average, I would say. 8 is, verging on, going really good. And 6 is below average. So I'd probably say the last 3 months have been below average. And the last week I've been a 4 for sure, like a fucking dead set 4. So, why is that? Why have I been a 6? Why have I been a 4? So, and this is not super easy or comfortable for me to talk about, but those of you that are listening probably want to get something out of it, or you know me well enough to be interested. But, so I've always been a happy guy, a social guy, positive guy. I really do believe that. But over the last 12 weeks, I have had increasingly crippling social anxiety, and not so much crippling as in I'll go out and be anxious to talk to people day to day. Like now, the last week I've been pretty bad, but the last 12 weeks in general, like in the day, I'm all right. But what has been going on is I've had this really strange phenomenon where my life was going quite good Athena's growing really well. I'm doing a great job. There's no stress in the business. Everybody's getting along. So work's good. I've just started training again full time and really enjoying it, weightlifting. So that couldn't be going any better either. But I've had this anxiety where I've had 12, say the last 12 weekends, I've had 12 events. I don't think there's been a weekend where I've had nothing on. I've had 12 events. I've had Corey's birthday, Deeks' Mrs. birthday, a Commons work party from the Commons, Roadie's going away party, grand final and a night with Tice, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like 6 other things. And over the last 12 weeks, because I'm a social butterfly, and over the last 12 weeks, I've really, really wanted to go to every one of these events. I work by myself. I have a team of 12, but I work by myself every day. I have housemates, but, we do our own thing. And I'm single, obviously, as well. And so I really need to go out and be silly and be social and so forth. So I've had 12 things on in 12 weeks, and I've gone to 2 of them, and the other 10 I've wanted to go. Most of the time I've gotten into the shower, gotten ready, out of the shower, sitting getting ready, and then I've either got like most of my clothes on or all of my clothes on. Most of my clothes on, and I just stop and I stare at my feet for an hour, and then I decide I'm not going to go. Or all of my clothes on, I go sit on the couch in my lounge room and I don't step out the door. So that's fucked up. And I can't really seem to break through this rut of not being able to go to these things. For example, like Roadie's going away party was in St. Andrews, where I grew up. And it was on a Saturday. I did whatever I did in the morning, worked. Then I hired a car, cost me $60 for the day. I drove 90 minutes, got ready at my mum's place around the corner from where the event was. And then I fucking got showered and getting my clothes on. And I sat and stared at my feet for 45 minutes. And then decided, all right, I'm not going. So I have this fucking crippling anxiety of not being able to step through the door and actually go to these social events. So I'm not going well in that regard. And yeah, it's actually killing me. So that's annoying. Last night, I had, you could say it was a date, I guess. I was catching up with a girl from the Commons, a girl that I really like. I think she's cool. Well, we were just going to hang out, it was probably a bit of a date, But anyway, it was a beautiful day, 24 degrees, sun was out, we were pumped, chatting back and forth about what we're going to do. I woke up yesterday. Now it's where I'm at is a 4. I'm at the point where it's like the last week's been really fucked. So, well, let me first go back to the 2 times I have gone out. So I went out with my buddy Tice, he's a weapon. He's just a champion, a really great guy. And I went out with Tice about 6 weeks ago. And we went to the SB and we just couldn't get a groove, me and Tice. We just couldn't relax and couldn't really get anything going. We wanted to talk to some girls, chatting to dudes, having a beer or whatever. It just, me and Tice are normally pretty good, as a team, just banter wise and fun wise and meeting people and having a good time. And we just couldn't seem to break into it. And I think I blame the mood that I was in a really big part to play in that. And I ended up just, Tice ended up talking to a girl late at night, and I was trying to talk to all these other people and just trying to, have fun and just have a good light-hearted conversation, and I just couldn't handle it, couldn't do it. So I ended up bailing. I just walked out of the joint. I just fucked off, and I ended up so annoyed and angry and frustrated. This is how much this whole period has pissed me off, that I would have looked like a dead set psychopath. So I walked home from this place, which is like a good hour, and along the walk, I was cursing and swearing under my breath, like fuck, and like clenching my fists and like throwing my arms around like a fucking psychopath, like a junkie that can't, formulate his thoughts or can't keep his head together. And I've never done that before. I was just so tired, mentally just drained and over it. I'm just so over feeling just like not my normal self and not being able to just converse with people and have fun and have a laugh. And so that's one of the times. And then the grand final weekend this weekend, Richmond in the grand final. So I had an interview here in the studio with my mate Nick, and that was a great interview. I had so much fun. I felt really comfortable and really, normal. I just felt relaxed, and we had a great time. And then I was a bit late, but I rushed down to Richmond and caught up with Tommy and Mac, two of my all-time favourite buddies, and I just couldn't relax there either. I was at this bar and they were up and about kind of when I got there. They had a few beers. I was only 2 hours late, but they were relatively, into it. And that's normally cool. That should be no issue. But yeah, I just couldn't handle it. Couldn't relax. It was all right. We were having some fun talks, and I met a few people and whatever. But I just couldn't relax fully and couldn't get into it. And then for some reason, the boys had some gear, some illicit, whatever, some MD or whatever they wanted to take. I don't know if they ended up taking it or they were talking about maybe taking it. And I had some magic mushrooms in my fridge, so I took them along. And this is where I'm an idiot like this. I don't really, you should never fuck with magic mushrooms, whether it's, you shouldn't really take them on your own in general. But I take them on my own a fair bit. But you certainly shouldn't, it's not ideal to go to a bar and get pissed and get on mushies, but that's what I decided to do, and it didn't really work well for me. I started tripping a little bit, and then what I actually did was, so on my Instagram, this is embarrassing, but on my Instagram I follow about 20 brands and about 3 friends, my brother being one of them, or, from his family. And then I follow like 20 just pretty girls from around Melbourne. And that I've just like seen around the traps. I'm like, oh, that girl's cute and whatever. And, slide into their DMs 97% of the time pretty unsuccessfully, all that kind of stuff, just creepy guy stuff. And yeah, there's this girl that I was looking at, like, don't know what I was looking at, but saw this chick and I was like, oh, she's real pretty. And then, I like watch her Instagram stories, all that, as I said, this is just a look behind the curtain to me as a person and how much of a creep I am, I guess. But anyway, so we're at this is my own fault, I shouldn't have taken the mushies, but we're at this bar and Mac and Tommy, they were doing their thing and they were pretty up and about, and I wasn't. And then anyway, I was just started to trip on mushies a bit, and then the boys walked over to this girl. They started talking to this girl that I had followed on Instagram and started chatting to her and her friends. And in an ideal normal situation, like that would be my cue to go and sit down and introduce myself to her or her friends or whatever. And normally, like, I'm fucking pretty good to talk to and pretty engaging and a good bloke or whatever. And it all would have fucking just been whatever. It would have been good. Whatever happened would have been good. But I saw what was going on. I saw that this was this, particular chick that I'd followed. I don't know what the fuck went on in my head. Well, I shouldn't have taken mushrooms and been out like I was and been drinking. But I saw the scenario, saw how it was playing out, and I felt subpar, felt shit, and I literally fucking ran out of the club, like the bar, wherever we were. I ran out of there. Fuck. And then I walked home fucking kicking up fucking dust, like kicking rocks like a fucking nerd. And cursing myself and fucking just so down. And then anyway, so that's the last 12 weekends, 10 times I've gone to go out and pulled out. 2 times I've gone out and had a fucking shit one, real shit time. Nothing against my friends. I love my friends. They're the best, but haven't had a good time either of these times I've been out. And then yesterday, as I go back to what I was talking about earlier, yesterday I had, probably this date, you would call it, with this girl, and it was going to be good to catch up. Even if it didn't work out to be a date, it was just like we were just hanging out, whatever. I was super excited for it. I was looking forward to it. Like, weather was going to be pumping. We were chatting about all this fun stuff we were going to do. We could have done, whatever. And then I woke up yesterday and I fucking just felt like I had a fucking knife through my heart in the morning. In bed, I woke up, opened my eyes, and I thought, okay, cool, this is a bad day. This is a very, very bad day, and nothing's gonna be good today. So I told her, I said, look, you don't know me that well, but I have some, sometimes at the moment I have bad days, and this happens to be a particularly bad day, and I pulled the pin on our thing that we we're going to do. And, oh man, yesterday was a fucking cunt. It was one of the worst days ever. So, yeah. So, this is man therapy. This is man therapy with the doc. So, one good thing that I was able to do yesterday was I was able to meet with Daryl. Daryl's my psychologist, and yeah, I really, really love the guy. I know that, I pay him for his time, but I feel like he really cares, and he's one of my mates. And that's what a good psychologist will be to somebody. So I went and saw Daryl, and, I've probably seen Daryl, what would it be now? It would be easy 30 times over the last 3 or 4 years. And basically, all of my issues come back to the point of me needing to be loved and accepted and popular and so forth. I know everybody likes that. Like, everybody likes to feel like people like them and they have lots of friends and whatever. But me, like, I hang everything on that. I hang my whole self-worth is around, am I the most popular guy in the room? Do people think I'm cool? Do people think I'm successful? Fucking blah, blah, blah. So, I'm not a moron at the same time. I don't consciously see somebody and go, oh, cool, I hope this person thinks I'm cool, or, like I'm whatever. But subconsciously, deep down, I've had... I'm embarrassed when I tell this story, but because I don't want to sound like I'm trying to convince people how cool I am. But Daryl said it to me one day. He said, okay, cool. I told him about everything to do with my social anxiety and what have you. And he said, okay, cool. And if you've heard this podcast, if you've listened to every show on this podcast, you would have heard me talk about this before. But he said to me, all right, cool. Let me ask you about your childhood. How was your primary school time? And I said, yeah, it was great. I really loved it. He said, all right, my next question, how would you have ranked yourself in order of popularity from 1 to 100 or whatever, 100 kids in the class? And I said to Daryl, I said, well, that's a ridiculous thing to have to do. And he said, well, I want you to do the exercise. What would you rank yourself? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know where I would have been ranked. He goes, think of some examples or whatever. And I said, okay, cool. And I remember one time that I was driving to Dramana Basketball Stadium. I remember it perfectly. I was in year 7. I don't remember much from year 7, but I was driving to Dramana Basketball Stadium with my friend Will Anderson, and we were talking about Leah Smith and how cool and popular and pretty and whatever she was at school. And I said to Will, I was like, man, she was the most popular girl in school by a mile. And we both laughed. And I said, I wonder who the most popular guy in school was. And Will he threw his head back and he said, he goes, oh, mate, you're such a fucking arrogant cunt or whatever. You're such a... And I was like, what are you talking about, mate? And he was alluding to the fact that it was me. And then I thought about it. When Daryl asked me this question, it didn't feel like it was me, but then looking back on it, I would say it would have been. And, my primary school buddies are probably going to be like, whoa, fucking have a listen to this bloke. But look, it probably was the case. And then same thing in high school. Daryl asked me how was high school. I said, great. I loved every minute of it. He said, where would you rank yourself? I said, I don't know, Daryl. He goes, rank yourself from 1 to 100. And I said, well, I don't really know. And he goes, think of some examples. And then I gave him the example of in year 12, I got voted biggest champ. There was 20 awards at the end of the year, and 18 of them were piss take awards. Person most likely to have 3 children by the time they're 20, person most likely to be unemployed when they're older, person most likely to go to the moon, whatever. And there was 2 awards that really mattered. The second last one was not mattered, but there was 2 awards that you wanted to win. The second last one was the greatest comedic talent, and that was my mate Jaden. He's the funniest bloke of all time. Jaden actually used his powers for bad sometimes, but he was a fucking funny bloke. And then there was biggest champ, and this was all voted on by the year level. And then there was biggest champ, and I won the biggest champ award. That was like the last award, and it was a bit of a shock, but it was really cool. I really liked it. Got this framed plaque thingy or whatever, but that's kind of how I feel like my high school was. I think I was probably, if I was to rank myself, me and my friends ran the show, all that stuff, popularity-wise and blah, 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 all that crap. And I was probably at the real pointy end of it. And again, my mates from school will probably say you're a fucking wanker for saying this, but I probably would have ranked myself maybe number 1 or number 2 or number 3. But Daryl asked me, I said, probably number 1. And he said, what about after school? I said, mate, I just partied, and then for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I just partied. And then for 3, 4, 5 years, I just travelled. He said, okay, same exercise. How would you rank yourself? I said, everywhere I went, my crew were the people you wanted to be around. And, I was always instigating stuff and whatever. And normally, and same deal. All the way through travel, everything. So up until about 27, 28, when I started Adventure Fit and started to try and knuckle down and create a business or whatever. And Daryl said to me, he said, the one thing that you have against you, the worst thing that ever happened to you is you had everything go your way for your whole entire life. I didn't get picked on. I didn't... When I was in under 12s and 14s in football, junior football, I won every award that the junior football league that I played in had to give out. I won them twice. So I was always... I never had... I just always felt like the center of attention, I guess. And because of that, I go into fight or flight mode. My anxiety goes off. I go into full fight or flight mode when I'm not the center of attention. So So I have this thing about going out, and this is what Daryl reckons. So I have this thing about, I won't put myself in a situation where I'm feeling subpar. If I feel like I'm going to go somewhere, this is subconsciously again, this isn't stuff that I think about day to day and I actively, okay, cool, this is what I'm thinking. But if I'm tired, if I'm run down, if there's a large group of people that I'm intimidated by, if I haven't seen someone in a while, if there's going to be heaps of drinking involved and I feel like I've got something on the next day and it's going to affect that, I can't step foot, go out and put myself in a position where I'm subpar. So Daryl always talks about subpar, like a below average version of myself. I won't allow it. I won't allow it. And so therefore, my brain tells me, it says, okay, cool, we're not going to let you go out tonight. We're going to protect you. It's safer to stay indoors. Then you don't have to worry about that new group of people. You don't have to worry about that girl that you like. You don't have to worry about that, potential business, opportunity that might be there on the particular evening. It's going to be safer if we stay here. So I'm going to shut everything down. I'm going to shut your body down. I'm going to shut your mind down. I'm going to turn you into a zombie and we're going to stay safe. And that's what's going on. So Daryl talked about yesterday, he wanted me to think about the idea of going out and being subpar. Being, a really poor version of myself, a version of myself that doesn't make people smile, a version of myself that doesn't make jokes and improve the vibe of the evening, a person that won't make a great first impression on somebody. He wanted me to, think about and get comfortable with the idea of being subpar and being okay with that. And yesterday, I felt sick all day yesterday, like sick from anxiety, like physically sick. Like found it really difficult to eat. Tried to force feed myself. I haven't trained all week because I've been feeling fucked, but I have been training lots and I need to eat. So anyway, when Daryl asked me, how does it feel? Sit with the idea of going out and being subpar and having people that might say, hey, that Bill guy, he's not all that he's cracked up to be, or he wasn't very engaging or whatever. How does that feel? And yesterday when he challenged me with that, it made me feel like I wanted to throw up. It made me feel as if I was going to vomit, which is not a fucking good sign. Dead set, like hot water in the mouth, all that fucking crap, whatever. So I have a problem on my hands. Because I am, I'm stuck in this feedback loop of I want to go out, but I feel a little bit subpar, so fuck it, I'm not going to go out, which makes me feel more subpar, which makes it harder to go out next time, and I don't go out that next time, and I feel more subpar again. And I've just got no confidence whatsoever, no personal confidence, social confidence. I've got no fucking confidence whatsoever inside of my body right now. And I've got this feedback loop that keeps feeding itself that I can't shake myself out of it, and I don't really know what to do. So that's where I'm at. Man therapy wise, rate of perceived wellness wise, I'm in a fucking shit situation right now. But the good thing is I don't know about these suicidal thoughts. I've never had them, and I've been so down, so down in the past and for long periods of time, and I've never got them. So look, that's a positive because everyone seems to be wanting to kill themselves left, right and centre around me at the moment, which is not nice. So look, but I do have, I've got some issues and shit I need to address. So that's a look behind the curtain on my life really and what's going on. So thanks to anyone who's listened. So actions for me, I've got a wellness board, and I keep a checklist of things that I'm doing in my days and weeks to to keep on top of things, to try and feel good and feel, the best that I can. I'm trying to get 8 hours sleep every day. I'm trying to really prioritize sleep, and I'm also just reading a book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and I'm really excited to put some of that into action and try and shake myself free from the grips of social media a little bit. So that's what's going on. And I guess I'll just check in with you guys in a couple of weeks, and we'll go from there. But so thanks for listening. Before we wrap it up, I just want to give some thanks and shout outs to some of our listeners and some of the supporters of the show. So my mate Bertie Woodhead, at Bertie Woodhead on Instagram, he wrote to me on Instagram, and he said, "Hey, I have to say, mate, considering you're an Aussie, you're not half bad. Really enjoyed your last podcast. Hit home on several levels and made me rethink about a load of things. Thanks for your honesty. You're actually not too bad of a cunt." Thanks, Bertie. Also had another message come in the last couple of days as well, on another one of our shows. I'm not going to read out the person that this was, but I'm going to read it out anyway. It's pretty full on. But hey, mate, been rolling around this in my head for a while. That session where you talked about mental health and depression, thank you for talking about it. It's important. Sometimes we as men don't get the right. Something we as men don't get right, I don't think. I went way down that road after I got back from Afghanistan for any number of reasons, to the point where I nearly started one of my rifles. Point is, reaching out and getting help is hard, and dialogue breaks down the stigma, so thank you. So that listener, I know that listener personally, and I think that he will. So he will know. Thanks for reaching out there. Another message. I think doing the mental health check-ins is a great idea. You're absolutely right. We're currently in a mental health epidemic. It's hard to put your finger on what we can do as individuals, but talking about it as a collective can't be a bad place to start. So if anyone has feedback for the show, feedback for me, my Instagram is @thebillkerr. You can reach out to me there. That's always good. Anybody that wants to email me directly, I get a lot of emails as well from stuff like this. I have in the past. It's doc@athena.co, doc@athYNA.co. Send me any info you have, if this show's helped you or any other shows that we've had. If you got any feedback, any thoughts, would love to hear them. So, as always, thanks for listening. This is Man Therapy, 3rd of the 10th, 2019, with Bill Kerr, and I'll check in with you guys in a couple of weeks. Peace.